So one place is, there are many places nowadays you can find material, but one place I used to find information related to web technologies is W3 schools. If you are new to web technologies and you have not done anything at all, I strongly suggest you to start there. And then at the same time, I will also use the 5th edition of Learning Web Design, especially if you are interested in knowing the theoretical side of this, because there are things have developed in such a way, there should be a reason. If you are like into this, you can refer the Jennifer's book, right? Hopefully I will share the copy of the book through the LMS. Right. The next one is we would like to discuss the assessments. Like since you're familiar with the way I used to evaluate for continuous assessment, we have a group work. Today I will introduce the group work, and then every week we are going to work on one particular aspect of the group work. So in this particular case, we are going to create a web application. Then marks distribution for mid and the end are 30% and 50%. Okay. So in brief, if you look at the contents, this is what I'm going to cover. If you have already done some of the things, then I might skip and focus more on other things. So please let me know, do let me know. Since I'm not aware of your background right now, I am going to start with very basic HTML, CSS, JavaScript, then PHP, MySQL. So these are the technologies that actually I actually plan to cover. If you need more, maybe you could, there will be a small survey after this. So you could write down there. Right. Okay, having said that, let's start with the survey first. Since we know each other, since we have done previous course on SAD, so I'm not going to spend time on knowing each other. So I'm sending you a form through chat. Can you please spend about like a couple of minutes to finish this, just to see where you are and to know the level of understanding the material in web technologies. Let's start. Okay, I have received about like 8 responses, and I expect others will also respond the survey so that I can get a clear picture. I can see that most of you already have some good IT background. So assuming that everybody has that background, for me, we can focus more on new technologies. And then also like people are working in different sectors. Some are in the universities, some are in the schools, some are in the ministries as well. And the experiences also varies from about like 1.5 years to it goes up to 20 years. So which means diverse crowd is here, and everybody is having information technology bachelor's. Right now, two things I'm going to focus on is client side as well as server side technologies in very briefly. So I put a familiarity with clients and technologies. First of all, I put some frameworks as well as basic technologies like HTML, CSS, JavaScript. So it appears that about everybody is familiar with HTML, and this is exactly what I plan to cover today. So I think I can quickly finish those. And then CSS about 70%, JavaScript about 50%. Hopefully I can focus more on JavaScripts then, right? And some are even familiar with HTML, CSS, Bootstrap, as well as JavaScript frameworks such as jQuery, about one or two. So that seems that some of you are really familiar with these technologies. And then when it comes to server side, web server, familiar with the web server, there are about 50, half of the class familiar with the web servers. And then related algorithms, the programming languages, especially when you want to develop dynamic websites, about 60 familiar with the PHP. And then databases, it's really good, MySQL and MariaDB. The family is about 80%, which is good. And some are even familiar with the NoSQL databases, such as MongoDB, right? So let's focus more on those. And then the next question is, what IDs you are familiar with? And there are sophisticated IDs people use when it comes to web development. And I put some of them. Again, about 50% of the class familiar with the Visual Studio Code, whereas about 90% you are familiar with Notepad. Actually, that's one good thing, because first of all, in the beginning, we should familiar with the code, especially the commands in different technologies. And next, once you're familiar, then you can you get to use sophisticated ID. Then I actually asked, like, your expectation from the modules, new technological aspects. Yes, we'll try to use, at least in briefly, we can discuss some of them. But main aim is, how you may create web application using these different technologies, and to understand how they, go together, right? So we'll start with creating simple web pages, then styling, then giving uh, animated behavioral changes, and then slowly move to uh, the server side. We create databases, and then data transfer between servers and the clients. So those are the things we will plan to cover, right? So always you are welcome for suggestions, improvement for the course. So you can always write to me. I hope you already know my contact details, so make maximum use of this. Right, now having said that, everybody says HTML, right? Isn't it? So I want have a small quiz then. It's a very small one, it's a toy one actually. I say it's a quiz zero, just to see your understanding of the very basic HTML. So this is not hard. This is very, very easy. So you don't have to really worry about this. So this is quiz number zero, and yeah. So let's start. Yes. I hope you are familiar with the Kahoot framework. When you use a Kahoot framework for this, remember to use your index number so that I can keep track of your quiz results. So you don't have to really worry about the marks. What I check actually whether you have participated the quiz only. right? So this is one of the easy way to get marks for your continuous assessments. So having said that, let's start. So you may go to kahoot.it and then enter the PIN, then use your registration numbers as nicknames. Okay, I see only two logged into this Kahoot. Can others also join, please? We have about 12 in the class today. Right, I think let's start. I told you this is very, very simple. So Last one. Third place goes to Shanika. Second place goes to Shashi. And the first place goes to 1921. Runner-ups IT932. Okay. Yes, let's look at what you missed. Yes. So let's move on to okay. So let's start with the contents and what I plan to actually look at today is I will start by looking at very briefly about the internet and the World Wide Web, and also like different web applications in use and how extensively it'll use nowadays, and then little bit focus on the client server computing, that is client server architecture used in on the web, and then very brief introduction to HTML, and then the group work. So that's what I have planned for today. So having said that, if you move on to the next one, this has actually I have taken 2 years back when I first prepared the slide. I have not updated much. So this is what is happening on the internet every 60 seconds according to Go Globe in visually. So you see nowadays we have a lot of social media networks are there, and then it will create a lot of content as well. For example, YouTube, Facebook, a lot of data generation is there. So you will see how extensively people create content and also accessible for the general users. So this is within 60 seconds. So when we actually planning for the same, right, we have to carefully select the technologies as well, because if your application is going to used by millions of or billions of users, efficiency matters. Your careful choice of technology matters, right? So having said that, this is just look at social media, another aspect of putting it, and how extensively it may grow. Now, for example, according to the figure given here, right now in 2010, it is estimated that 97 billion people using the web. Okay, guys, give me a second. I have a visitor. Just quickly, I'll come back. Okay, sorry. So let's continue. Okay, so this is again some social media statistics, what might happen within 60 seconds. Right. Now, when you look at the internet, we used to say the internet is an interconnected computer network which uses TCP/IP protocol to link all the devices together. Like assume that the computer network, the largest computer network you may find on the internet. So when it comes to looking at the different networks, you will have all these public networks, private networks, and then academic and business. All these together, it will create this the network. So which will use for different tasks. Now we will use it the internet for emails, email communication. It has the infrastructure needed for the emails, for research, and also downloading applications using FTP or P2P. Then discussion groups, education, social networks, as well as electronic media, right? And then percentage of users. This is one of the figures that I have taken on the internet. So internet is used about 62% for research, banking about 50%, shopping 58%, meeting people about like 15%, health about 62%, travel reservation is about 43%, and for job hunting it's about 45%. So you will see that internet is core for all these day-to-day tasks. Now, if you look at the internet use and penetration, this is a figure from 2017, where we will see total number of active internet users as a number. It's about 3.8. So I assume that if you look at the latest figures, it will be more than this. And if you take the population, more than 50% of the population use the internet. And especially nowadays, everything goes mobile, and mobile internet users are, you can see the figure, 3.39 billion users. So if you look at the usage of mobile internet users as a percentage of total population, it's about 93%. So which means you will see how this affects the society at in large. So if you take the information space, so that is actually part of the internet. We call it as World Wide Web. It contains hypertext documents, and all these documents are connected using hypertext links, which is actually accessible through the internet. And all the pages actually made out of the markup language called hypertext markup language. And then all these pages may contain a lot of multimedia information such as images, video, audio, and so on. Right. So if you compare what internet as well as the World Wide Web, these two things, World Wide Web is within the internet, where internet is the global interconnected computer networks, whereas the information space is within World Wide Web. Now, when you look at the information accessibility, application software we will use is commonly known as browsers. All the information we could access using the browsers, and then all these web pages as well as their multimedia content can be used or you can retrieve the information using the browsers. So if you look at most popular versions, it includes Chrome, Firefox, Safari, Internet Explorer, and the latest one is Edge. So just to give you some summary, how was the browser population earlier, according to W3 schools. So in December, the Chrome actually is about like 3.6. When it starts September, it's 3.1, 2008 September, and the Internet Explorer usage was about 49%. So over the years, this has actually, changed. Right now, if you take after 10 years back, in 2018, the Chrome's usage is about almost 80%, right? Majority of, usage is actually by Chrome. So all these, look at the web content through the browser is with a architecture called client and server architecture. So if you use on the internet, we will have two parts, or you can have clients and servers. Those who request the information we call clients, while the information providers we known as servers. So when you look at the architectural perspectives, when you look at the client side, it will handle the user interface, which means data entry, data query, like as well as presentation logic. Everything comes under user interface. So if you talk about the technologies, then technologies also goes into this. The server side, it contains the data. So all these database management function and data accessible is provided by the servers. So application logic is in client server, it's actually divided between the server as well as client, right? Now, for example, whenever you need information, the client submits the request and then server is actually carried out the operation, right? And once you get the required information, it is send it back to the client. So if you look at the different technologies, we can identify these two. I told you about the client side, you have the presentations, whereas the actual data is in the server side. So you will see different technologies are used. Basically, for the presentation perspective, we have to use the basic web technologies like HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. And then server side, we have web server, backend language, as well as database. So you start from the server side, we can use of different, databases. We have array of choices. But since most of you are also familiar with MySQL and MariaDB, we could stick on to this for database handling part. And for backend language, there are many others developed, like Python nowadays getting popular, and PHP is still, I think, taking the majority of the web, PHP MySQL combination. So that as the backend language, and the Apache as the most popular web server, right? So these are the technologies that we are going to plan to, discuss in this module. And apart from that, for the user interfaces, we have HTML, CSS. We will be basically look at the very briefly this, and then there are like frameworks to handle this. And it's same for JavaScript as well. So you can use plain JavaScript. To easier the process, you can use popular frameworks such as React or Angular, right? So that these are the common technologies used, right? So depending on the time, we will cover HTML, CSS, JS, and then we will cover the very basics of some of the frameworks. Right. So as you can see, we are going to, discuss different technologies in these modules in more practical way. And at the same time, we will, as the group work, you are trying to look after web application development. Right. So let me briefly discuss the group work now. So the basic idea is you are going to create a fully featured web-based interactive education application. So it's up to you to decide what exactly you are going to build, but I have some suggestions, right? I have some suggestions. So you can start today's work. Once we finish up the basics of HTML, I will give you more time to understand the users of the application and the functionalities that the particular application that you have decided to support for each user, and then modeling techniques. So basically the basic design you are going to finalize today, and from next week onwards you are going to build up one part at a time. You are going to look at, and as a group work you initialize the work, and then you will finish the whole work later on, right? So that's the plan. So today you can make it a groups, and then based on the groups you may select different topics. Right. Having said that, let me start with HTML. I already know that you already know some of the content, but briefly I will go through this, and then I will allow you to start with the designing of the web application. So we know that the basic things for any of these technologies, we have to start with building web pages. Now, when it comes to building web pages, especially for static content, we are using what we call HTML, hypertext markup language. It uses something called markup language because it talks about the appearances, like, for example, how text should look like, right? Whether you need highlighted or not, right? So that can be described using what we call the markups or tags, right? And then, you have different, content in the web page, such as you have a heading of a web page, paragraph, table. So this defines different content. So when it comes to application programs for this, the browsers, they do not use HTML tags to display the tags, but it will use them to, what to be presented for the users. So if you look at with HTML5 syntax, the basic document structure, we start with the doc type HTML, which tells the browser that it's version 5. And if it is a different version, maybe you will get different values for this. And the main document start with HTML and ends with /HTML. So that is actually for tag pairs, we call it. So we start with HTML and with HTML, and then there are two parts in the document, head and a body. So head actually will not put anything into the browser document or what to do display, but it's for the header information, we call it. For example, you may provide a title for the web page. And then you can also define the meta information such as character set is UTF, that means Unicode. And the actual content we put in the body part. For example, here we have hello world, right? So as I told you earlier, this we should start with the doc type HTML, which is what we call the declaration that the whole document is in HTML5. Right. Okay. Now, if you look at the elements, right, as I already said, we have two pairs of tags, most of the cases. That means you start with the element and end with the element. Now, for example, headings, there are different, heading types. H1 is the largest header we can have in a web page. And this starting tag is H1 and end tag is /H1. So likewise for paragraph, we have P stands for paragraph and /P. But some cases you have only one tag, no ending tag. For example, line break will represent line break using BR. Okay, right. That's about the HTML elements or the tags. Now, the way it represents the particular tag could be improved or could be changed using what we call attributes. Now, for example, if you take anchor, it stands for a link A. When you want to create a hyperlink, we use this. And the href is actually attribute for A, and that actually refer the website you want to connect to, right? So likewise, these attributes could be used to define how the whole HTML block will work. I will give you some examples later on. Okay, so when you talk about the different elements in a web page, there are two types. We call block elements, which says they'll always start with a new line. For example, headers treated as a separate line all the time, right? The next line will start in the new line. So you will have a spacing. Same goes with paragraphs as well. But when you say inline, then there's nothing called new line is created. It states with the same text. For example, emphasis text, we can put EM. There's no change for this. Then we have empty elements. Now, for example, empty elements means they do not have any content. It just gives you a simple directive like IMG, OBR, HR, meta information, right? No content, but this could be used to create images, line breaks, horizontal rulers, as well as providing meta information. Okay, I think now we have discussed the basics. Let's move on to the basic elements available you to start with HTML documents. So in basic elements, we discuss about the headers. Headers, in different sizes from H1 to H6. H1 is the highest one, and whereas H6 is the smallest value. Then paragraphs, we start with P. Then bold in text, we start with B. Italic text with I. Small text with small. Subscript and superscript with sub and sub. And horizontal rule with HR. Line break is BR. There are many, but here it's less the very basic ones. Now, when you start with something, you can style the attribute. I told you about the HTML attribute. So you can change how it look like. Now, for example, any tag name you can change the style, change this, the appearance of the particular element, right? So let me start with a simple example. So I'm going to display this. I'm going to use Notepad today first, right? So this is the notebook I will share. And then I will have a browser window, right? So let me create the basic structure first. So we have the basic structure. Let me create the structure first. So let me share the screen. So I'm in screen 2. So I will put the basic structure. So that's what we have right now. And let me save. When you save, remember, I will go to C. I will create a folder called IT509. And then I'm going to create the simple HTML file. We'll put the extension as .html. Right now, if you go there in C and IT509, you see this. You will see hello world here. So here is the output. Right. Now let me increase the size a bit so that you can see the tag clearly. Now, having said that, let me introduce the style. So in the style, we had a couple of values. First of all, let's, this is the normal text. So let me show you like the headers. We have H1, slash H1. So if I save this, refresh it, you will see the difference of a normal text and with a header, right? So this is how it look like. Right, now you can change the property of this. Now, for example, let me put a paragraph. With some text. Let me finish with /p and let me save it. We have paragraph like this. Right, I told you like the way it shows. Now these are we call block element because you have always space in between. So this one also creates space in between. Then what I told you is you can change the way it look like. Now, for example, if you take this header and then if I specify style and within the quotes, we can specify any property with a value. Now the color. Yes. we can say red. So let me say the text color has changed to red, right? At the same time, we can have another one like background color. So let me put this. If you refresh it, you will see the background of the tag H1 is in yellow color, right? So likewise, you can put a lot of attributes. You can change, for example, you can change the font family, right? You can change the font family. So for example, let me put another one, font family. Let's save it. Let's refresh it. Okay, it's not working. So let me use standard one like Arial. Now it has changed, right? So I have actually changed the font family as well. Then the alignment. So for example, we can say text alignment, text align. We can say center. And then if you save it, it will actually center. Right. I hope now it's clear to you. Now that's about the attributes. So you can actually refer the documentation if you need more details. Since you're already familiar, I do not think we need to spend this. Some more tag information. The comments, whenever you want to put extra information not to display to the user or the client, then we use these tags, angular bracket and exclamation mark, and two dashes will indicate the start of comment, and two dashes and the angular bracket will indicate the end of the comment. So whatever you put within this will not execute, right? Now, for example, then we'll take this. So we have three tags. So you can comment out anything. Now, for example, if we do not want, let's say we do not want this paragraph. So without remove this, you can put a comment. Yes, which will just ignore when the browser renders this. Okay, the colors. There was a question actually in the quiz about the colors. There are different ways to represent the color information, right? So first of all, you can use color names of colors. So some are given here, like something like red. And the other way is you can use, assuming that this is RGB. So let's say we have RGB. Yes. So there are color information. I hope you have already done. Otherwise, we'll discuss this later on. So usually we can talk about different way of representing colors. One way is use of red, green, and blue component. Now, when you talk about the red color, what happens there? The red is maximum and green and blue is removed, then the color becomes red. When you talk about the maximum value, the values are between 0 to 255. You are using 8 bits to represent colors. So the maximum value is 255. Green is 0 and blue is 0. Then we will get, yes, red color. So this is another way to represent this, the color red. So hexadecimal, use of hex to represent this is use of hash, and you represent these numbers in hex values. So 255, we can represent it as FF, 0 is 0. Again, you have to use 2 digits. And here also you can use 2 digits. So the color red we can represent as FF 0000. So this is another way to represent the color. So that is what actually I have used earlier, right? So that is very important. So for example, when you need it, you can use it, these two processing, right? Now, likewise, let's say we need the blue color. If you need blue, so you can just, there are 3 ways. The first one, you can use the name blue to indicate blue color, or else in hex value as hash, we can have 00, that is for red. Then green again 00. For blue, it's maximum FF. So this is another way to represent this. Third way is use of values RGB. You can represent the first 2 values are 0 and then the third value is 255. So this is the representation. So refer the documentation for more details, but simply you can use hex code to represent the colors, right? Now, just to show you like this, in our case, let me go back to this. So here is what I have, right? So let's have another header. Let me use this time H2. Header 2 slash H2. And then let's say the style color. I'm going to change the header color using style. And the color, I can put a name, right? The colors that actually use is tomato. So you can just say tomato, like this, which will be get a different color. So let's save this. You see the color, that is the tomato color. right? Okay, so what I said is, if you need blue, for example, you can say blue. It's the same. Yes, blue. Another way to represent the same thing, I will copy paste. Another way to represent the colors. You can put hash mark. We can have 0000FF, right? So let me save this, save, refresh, we'll get the same color. Now, if you want to make it to green, can you tell me the code in the chat? Yes? Yes? How do you make it green? Yes, we can say red is 0, R, G, green, we have to put FF, blue, it's 00. So if I do this, if you refresh it, now you'll get green. So for example, what is this color? I'm going to change FF00FF. What is this color? Yes, if you use FF00FF, that means if you use red and blue together, what color you will get? You get purple, right? Good. I think it's enough now to discuss these colors. I hope now you already know this. Right. Then we talk about a few things. So let me ask questions since you already know this information. So let's look at the images. Now in images, we use img tag. So that is a tag, and you have only open tag only. There's no closing tag for img. And then you have a source attribute src in short. It defines where your image is, and alt is called alternate. For example, if there's an error in the image loading, then the piece of text you put under alt will display, right? Okay, can you explain me the first tag? Can one of you explain me what is the first tag? What will happen there? Yes. Can one of you tell me, like, what is the first tag? What do you mean by this? So it says img src star.jpg alt equals star. So which means we are going to have a file called star.jpg in the same place, and with the alternate text called star, right? Now if I use, let me use a paint to come up with this. So let me share, let me create a star document. Let me have paint. I'm good. Okay, so this is what I have painting. So I'm going to draw a star. Let's draw a star. Let me use a shape. Okay, here is the star. Let me crop this. I'm going to select the star like this. Let me crop. Let me color the application. So let me put red color within this, and then yellow color outside of this. So let me save this. I'm going to save in the same place in C. So I'm going to save this as star. The save type, I use a default one, it's PNG, right? So it will be slightly different from what we have. So now I'm going to use this, and then let me remove paragraph for the time being. And this is all what I have. And this is the output. Right, I'm going to include the image. So let me include the image here. I'm going to say, yes, img src equals star dot png, my file name, and that's all I have. So I'm going to save this, and when I refresh it, you'll get the, this very large size of the star. Right. Now we can decide on the size of the star. But before that, let's say we made a mistake. Instead of star, let's say I mistakenly type star 1. If I save it, refresh it, I will see a broken one here. Yes, broken image. So it's always better to include ALT, because in case if there's a broken image, then it's display the message. So this could happen sometimes even without the image. So if I just refresh, you will see star. Ajit, you may have to remove the diagrams. It will display to the everywhere. Ajit. Okay, so let's put star PNG. Now this is what I have already have. So let's resize this. Right. So let's resize this. One way to do this is use of style attribute. Style, and then you can define the width and the height. For example, I can say width is 120x 128 pixels. Height is also 128 pixels. You can define like this. So if you save it and if you refresh it, you see that this is 120 by 120. Right. So this is use of style sheets to change of the size. Right. Now likewise, you can put this into background if you want. Now let's say this star PNG, I'm going to put in the background. So I'm going to remove this image tag, but I would like to use as a background image. So you can say style, and then you can put it into background image. You can say as a URL, you can say star. You can put it like this. And when you save it, Okay, dot is there. I missed the dot instead of putting the tags. So I put a dot here. Yes, save it, refresh it. So I'll get it as the background, right? So that about the background image. So image, use of image now we discuss, and then also we discuss background images. Then about the links, HTML links, we could use it using Anchor and href, the hyperreference, and then you can have a message. So I have seen that you have successfully answered that quiz, so I'm not going to discuss in detail. Okay, I would like to discuss something else, like you can have the links as a local links, right? Now, for example, if you want to open something in a new window or a tab, then we can specify, we can use target attribute, right? If you have not done this, it will open in the same tab, same window. But let's say you want to have a new one, then you have to use target as underscore blank. Right, now, let me briefly discuss this. Now, if you take this, for example, let me have this, and then let me have this, the documents. Yes, so the links. So let me use a link first. Let me remove hello world for the time being. Let me start with the link. Now let's say the default one is ahref equals, let me say http www.pdn.ac.lk. So that's visit our website, and then you can have /a. So that's the basic. So this is visit our website. So I forgot this double quotes. Let me save it. When you refresh it, you will get. So equal sign I missed. Yes. Now it should work. Right. Now you see that we have created a link. When you click it, it will load it in the same window. Now there are other options that you can actually change. So in that particular case, we can go back at the target. So if you say target blank, and if you save it, yes, you refresh it. When you click it, you see it will open in a new tab. So this is a file, it will open it a new tab. So likewise, you can have parent and top instead of blank, right? When you have parent, it open the link in the parent frame, and the top open the link document the full body of the window. So those are the two values. Okay, now let's look at how you may create an image as a link. That I hope you already know these things. Yes, so let's say you have this image. I'm going to save it in C, the place where I have this. I'm going to save it. Now I'm going to go back. Instead of this, visit our website. I'm going to create image link. So I'm going to say img src, the value that I'm going to have is uni logo.png. So let me refresh it. Now let me close the tabs not necessary for me. Let me so we have the image here. It's very, very small. I don't know why it's very, very small. So let me specify some size here. Width equal, let's say 50% of the window. Okay, now you will see. Right, anyway. So you see this. Let me put 100%. Okay, so here we have the link, image link. When you click it, you get the units repair at the near web in a new window. Right, so that's about the link and image links. Then we will have next we have to look at the tables, but I think for that we will have a small break, and then after the break we'll continue the rest, right? So now it's 2:40. Shall we meet again around 3 then? Okay, we'll have a break. So in HTML blocks, we discussed there are two types of elements are there. One is block level elements like headers, paragraphs, lists, tables, and so on. And inline elements, we have like bold, italics, underline, and so on, right? Now, the two blocks quite popular when it comes to especially styling and is div and span, right? Div, this is the block that we use as block level element, and span, we use it as a inline element. Now, to discuss this, okay, for the time being, let me remove this, right? I will save, refresh, we have this. Now, since you already know, what will happen if I put this div between these two? Yes. Can any one of you tell me like what might happen if you put div in between? What will happen when you put div between the middle word? Yes. So in div elements, what happens? It will be a container, and I told you like this is a block level element. Because of that, it starts with a new line, and then it takes up the whole width available. So what happens? Let's save this. If I refresh it, You see it as a 3 line. Why 3 lines? The middle one, it will create a separate element, right? It's a block level element, which is, it may break into 3 parts, because block level elements start with a new line and ends with the next one is actually start after that. So that's why 3. How about if you put span? So let's say I will put span. Let me save this. What do you expect? What do you expect is to put a span instead of div? Yes. Nothing will happen because it's inline. If I refresh it, nothing will happen. It will display as it is. No change. But this is interesting. You can change. Now, for example, if you want to change the font color, now you can say style. For example, we can say let's say you want to change the color of this. Let's say color is red like we did earlier. So we can say equal sign. We can say color red. Right. So we can say, you see that the color information, you can put it like this. Remember earlier, before we have HTML5, we had a separate tag called font tag where we used to change this. But everything now we use the styles, so you can change the colors. So span is like you have to, without changing this, you can select the same line in, you can insert it as an inline element, and you can change color, change font, change background, and so on. You can put it like this. Right. Now, to discuss the use of, especially in the web design, let me take an example. Let's remove the styling for the time being. So here we have 2 styles, division. We have div to start div, and then this is a block of element, right? So you can normally you use this div elements as containers when you design web pages. Especially you can use lots of divs. So separate as a containers, we call it. Now this one, if I just save it, refresh it, you just don't see it as a separate element. But I can make it now. For example, let's add some styles. So in div, I'm going to add a style. I'm going to say the background color as black and the text color as white. You can put it in this way. So what will happen? The background, meaning the background of this div, that container comes as a black, whereas the text is white. So let me save this. Let me refresh. You will get something like this. Now, one of the problem, if you just use the colors, you will see that this is without any space. It will come to an edge of this. So when you need more space, I hope you already know, we have to make a padding, right? So we put some space in between, make it look nice, the text within the div element, right? Now, for example, here, I'm going to add padding. This information we will talk about the box model in CSS, but for the time being, let me put 20px. So if I save it, file save, when you refresh it, now you see that, so there's some space is added in all these around the text. So looks very nice now, right? Looks really nice now. Now, for example, you can also like change the P, for example, you can put a P, yes, and then we can make it as a paragraph within this. Yes, you can save it, refresh it, yes. Then you can have a nice space around this, right? Okay, so that's another thing that I want to discuss. Then, okay, one entities. I think in the quiz I also showed you these HTML entities. Let me share the slides first. So in this one, some entities to represent some reserved characters in HTML. One of the things that I have asked in the quiz is how you get a space. So that is an NBSP. This is what you need to use. If you need like less than, greater than symbols, as well as this and symbol, double quotation, single quotations, you have a set of entity names are given. So likewise, copyright registered mark for this special, characters, we can make use of this. So how you are going to use? There are two ways. With the entity name, you can just use like this, or else entity number, you can use like this. So the both ways are given, right? So I'm not going to explain this, but you may try these entity characters, character entities when you design pages. Okay, one last thing I want to discuss. I have done all these because I want to come up to this point, because we are developing a web application. So we are going to design some user interfaces for data, gathering as well as displaying it. So we'll start with the HTML forms first. Right, you know that usually what will happen whenever you interact with an application, so you enter some information, when you submit it, the web application process the data, and then you will get the acknowledgement. Now, for example, here, registering email list sign up, when you submit your name and email address, that information is the data will be sent to a web application, and then it will give you the response, right? So for that, we need to discuss the basics of forms. Now, first of all, what you need to remember is to create a form, you have to use the form tag, and then you have to show some values. Now, for example, here, let's say I want to get two input fields to get text for first name and last name. So the input type, we have to use it as a text. The name field here will be used whenever you transmit the data. Right now, for example, if you enter some value in the first name, that information with attached with the name of this. Similarly, the same for last name as well. Okay, so likewise, there are like passwords, especially when you get the user's password, we don't want to show the characters. So usually we will hide. So the input type for that is called input password. Okay, now when you submit your form, there should be a place where I process the submitted data. Now this is we call the action form. So for example, here when you start with the form, there's action attribute, and then you have to list what will be the page which will process the input data, right? Now, if you just use like this, for example, force, action, and target, without target, if you put it, it will load in the same window. But if you need to do a separate tab or a window, then you should insert the target blank. So this we have already discussed earlier. If you need a new page or a new tab. Right. There are different ways to specify the HTTP method. We usually say get and post, right? So when you use just form and without any method, whether to get or post, it will take it as get. Now the problem with the get is whenever you use the method as get, it will be displayed. The submitted details will be displayed in the address field, right? And then somebody can make use of this to attack your site, right? So when you have very sensitive data, critical data, we better switch it to post method, right? So make a note of this one. Now, once you have a form to submit the data, we have to use input type submit, value submit. So this is the value it actually shows. So depend on different input type, we will get different values. So in the submit button, we use type as submit. So usually data entry, we have submission button. Sometimes let's say you make a mistake, you want to reset it, meaning like you can remove any temporary data. So for that, we can use input type reset. So usually along with the form, you will get the output. Right. There are places where we have to make a choice. Now, for example, gender, we know mainly we can classify as male and female. Sometimes you can further categorize it. Now, in this particular example, we are going to categorize person as a male, female, or other. Okay. Then check boxes, especially when you want to select multiple values in a form environment, you have to have check boxes. Right. In the check boxes, as I already told you, like you can select multiple values whenever you want to give the user to more options. Then you may use check boxes. Right. In this particular example, we have input type checkbox. We have a name called vehicle and value is bike. Same goes here with the second one, vehicle 2, the car. So it's a checkbox. Right. Especially when you want to add date inputs. You can use the input type as a date, right? Which will give you this format given in this screen. So it will represent the birthday as month, day, year. So we need to check this. And the range, data range could be limited by using max and min. Okay. So to insert an email, you can use input type email. To get a numerical input, you can use input type number, and then you can specify name and minimum and maximum values. And then you can group the data using what we call field set. Very useful. For example, when you want to divide up the information in the web page as a group of fields, we can use field set. Okay, let's look at the input attributes. The value attribute. Now, for example, here we have value John and the name is first name. So sometimes you have to have a default value. So for the name, the first name, we are having the value associating the value John. So whenever you type something in a text box, it appears that somebody can change it. Now, if you want to prevent from someone changing this, you can add read only here. So which will convert this as a read only field. So input is read only means you cannot change it. Right, then you can disable input field. So input type is text. At the end, we have the value disabled, which will disable the previous information. Then we have size attribute. The size attribute specify the size, default is 20. This is because then you have more control over the Jones being the first name for that particular text. Another way of do this is get the maximum length of the attribute, the maximum allowed length in the input field. So maximum length, you can put it as the input here. So you can take it. Right, next, form elements. Especially when you need drop down lists, right? It's in this particular case, we are going to select a set of cars. There are options like Volvo, Saab, Fiat, and Audi. So all these we call option value. Different values are here. The name for this is cars. So car could be a Volvo, car could be a Saab, car could be a Fiat, and car could be a Audi. And finally, you have a submit button. Right. Now, if you want to select something when you start submitting it, you can use the option value Fiat and then you can say selected. So the very same thing we have to do the other parties as well. Then we will have a text area. When you want to like insert a answer with a detailed one, you can define what we call multi-line input field, and then this is used to take that message. So we have specified this as 10 rows and 30 columns, the text area. Then we have button element, clickable button. So when you click, if you put button type button on click, let's say you want to put a message, then you use alert. And whenever you click the button, you get this alert. Okay, final one, the data list element. It's actually coming from a new HTML5 links, predefined set of values. If you want to define it, so we can use data list, right? So in data list, you will see we will match the browsers. We will have Internet Explorer, Firefox, Chrome, Opera, and Safari. So likewise, you can create a data list. Okay, so with that one, actually, we finished discussing the basics you need, HTML. Sorry, I actually described something more important, or you missed something in the quiz. Others, I suppose you already know. In case if you do not know, let me know so that we can work it out. Now we are going to work on the group work, right? So I'm going to put you in groups, and then or else you can. Okay, let's do like this. I want group of 3 for the project. Maybe you can group by yourself, or I can put it in randomly. So which one you prefer? Ajit, do you prefer random groups, or do you prefer like, okay, group by yourselves? Okay, can you quickly group among yourselves and send me the names, and I will see whether I can put it to the breakout rooms. When you send me the lists, put them privately, please. Yes, can you discuss among yourselves? I will allow chat. Right, so depend on what we have, I'm going to assign. So we have a first group from Chintak, and then we have Ajit, Vikum. I can't find Vikum. Is it Callum? Ajit? Third person?
Sir Vikum De Luca.
Is he here today?
Yes, sir.
Vikum.
Diluka. Vikum olog gela nedinne.
Okay, anyway, I will assign you to. Then second group we have yes, Shanika. Shanika, we have Sulochana and Subhasingha. Subhasingha I have selected.
Gihani Sulochana
Okay, Gihani.
and Umanga Subhasingha.
Right, I have assigned you to group number 2.
Okay.
Yes, others, please. Krishan Kumar, you have to type your name, otherwise I can't assign you into rooms. No. You, Sajini, only problem is the maximum number of participants are 3 members. Krishan Kumar, can you type the names? Okay, guys, you need to hurry up, otherwise. Krishan Kumar, can you type the names, please? How about the others? Can you form the groups right now, or you want me to put in some random groups? Yes, Callum. What are the names, Callum? We have Callum, Indivara, and what is the other name?